You're listening to the IB4E Coaching Podcast.
Brought to you by IB4E Coaching, business coaching for executives, entrepreneurs, and small business professionals. Learn more at ib4e-coaching.com. Hey, Coach Harlan here. Welcome back to the podcast. Hope you guys are having a phenomenal week. I'm having a great week, and I'm excited to introduce you to my guest today. Please help me welcome Jennifer Zock. Jennifer Zock is a graduate of Coach U, the world's first coaching school, and certified in mind-body coaching and integrative somatic trauma therapy. She's the author of Somatic Awareness, Leading with Body Intelligence. She's the founder of Zock Coaching, LLC, where she helps leaders tap into their body intelligence to lead with greater clarity, resilience, and impact. Trained under Dr. Peter Levine, a pioneer in the field of somatic healing, Jennifer uses her 3N model to teach leaders to notice, name, and navigate their internal states, building psychological safety, unlocking talent, and driving healthier business outcomes. With more than 20 years of corporate experience in the financial and utility sectors, Jennifer brings deep business acumen to her coaching. Jennifer's work has been featured in ATD, that's the Association for Training Development, TD Magazine, Training Magazine, and Choice, the magazine of professional coaching. And she has spoken at the ATD Chapter Leader Conference, Disrupt HR, and the Iowa CHRM Conference. Jennifer, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today, Harlan.
Absolutely. Busy, busy, busy. You've got a lot of things going on. Somatic awareness.
Yes.
We were talking briefly before we started the recording. I've heard the term. I never really understood what the term was, right? Really what it meant. How it's how our bodies react to external pressures, stresses, things like that, right?
Yes. The word soma is the Greek word for body. So it's body awareness. And if you've ever had a gut feeling and you're aware of it, that's somatic awareness.
Nice. And so you work with executives and leaders to be more in tune with those things that are going on so they know kind of what's happening and they can adjust or prepare, right?
Yes. So that they can reset in real time because we're all wired for survival. And we have a 6-second window from the time that the body starts talking to us. And that's when we're getting triggered. We have 6 seconds before the body is going to do what it's designed to do, flood with stress hormones to keep us alive. And so we end up in a fight, flight, freeze state. However, in our modern day society, the situations that we find ourselves in are much more likely to be uncomfortable, not unsafe. And when we react as if they're unsafe, that really impedes connection, psychological safety, curiosity, innovation, because when we are in survival mode, there's no capacity for all of, for relationships co-regulating, for being curious, innovative, and really creating the circumstances, the environment to do good work and have good results.
Wow. Very cool. Well, like I said, I've been looking forward to having this conversation because I want to learn more about this and understand how it impacts leadership, because that's what the podcast is all about, right? Courage and leadership. And I've got a ton of questions for you. I hope you're ready. But before we get started, I've got 10 icebreaker questions.
All right.
The listeners know these are the questions made famous on the TV show Inside the Actor's Studio, where the host James Lipton asks these same questions of his Hollywood guests from TV, film, and stage. And I figure if they're good enough for the Hollywood elite, they're certainly good enough for my guests. So Jennifer, if you're ready, 10
I'm
quick
ready.
questions. All right. Question number 1, what is your favorite word?
Actually, I have 2 of them.
Okay.
Fun and love. Those are two words I find myself using most frequently.
Nice.
Fun and love.
Fun and love. Very good. All right. What is your least favorite word?
Mm, Hate and I can't.
Yeah. Those are big on the list. Absolutely.
Mm.
Very good. All right. What turns you on?
In terms of what gets me excited, is that,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, seeing the transformation in my clients.
Nice.
That.
Light those
Yeah.
light bulbs going off. Yeah.
Yes, and the change that they experience through somatic awareness when they feel lighter, they have greater clarity, they just feel better
Nice.
from the inside out. Yeah, it's amazing.
Very cool. All right. What turns you off?
Fear. And what fear does, I mean, we need fear
Mhm.
to keep us alive. But when I think of fear being a turnoff, I think of FDR's quote that about the only thing we really have to fear is fear itself. So that's some context from which I'm coming from when I
Right.
see or say the word fear turns me off.
Nice. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. What sound or noise do you love?
Red wing blackbirds. And I'll tell you
Mm,
why, because they
okay.
remind me of summer vacation.
Uh,
I remember as a kid, when it would be time for summer vacation, we'd also have the windows open and we'd hear the red-winged blackbirds.
nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's a nice memory.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Ooh, fingers, nails on a chalkboard. Ooh.
Yep. All right. What is your favorite curse word?
Oh boy. Funny story. I really needed to tap into my 3-year-old self for this because I can remember my I used to have quite a little potty mouth, and I think that was because I got a reaction from my family for it. And I loved Sunday school so much that my mom, the only way she could break me of it was to tell me that if I kept talking like that I wouldn't be able to go to Sunday school anymore. So, but I really don't have swear words that I use regularly. If anything, maybe. Let's see. What might I say if I was really um probably shit maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say that you're walking through the house at night and it's dark and you stub your toe. You yell something, right?
Yes, yes.
All right. Next question. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Art therapy.
Hmm. Okay. Very cool. What profession would you not like to do?
Ooh, anything that's repetitive.
Factory work.
Yeah, yeah, that would not
Yeah.
match for me. Nor would
All
I be
right.
fit.
All right. Jennifer, final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Let's dance.
Awesome. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. All right. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about you, how you got started, how you got to the somatic awareness,
Mhm.
who you work with, how you help them. And at some point, we're going to transition into courage and leadership.
Sounds good.
All right. Listeners, we'll be talking about all that and more right after this. So stick with us. And we're back with my guest, Jennifer Zock. Jennifer, thank you again for agreeing to be on the show. I've been looking forward to this. Looking forward to reading your book because this fascinates me. The subject fascinates me.
Great. Thank you.
Um, so early in your career, you were in telecommunications analyst, a consultant. How did you make that change to being an executive coach? When did that happen, and Was there a catalyst, something that started that?
It was definitely nonlinear. And the catalyst, I would say, was a magazine article in the early 2000s. I wasn't looking to make a change. I really loved what I was doing, loved working with data and all of that. And I was reading this magazine and it said something about coaching. And it talked about the different behaviors and characteristics that make a good coach. And I'm like, wait a minute, I do those things naturally. What I want to know more about this. And so that's at the point in which I enrolled at Coach U, and I graduated from Coach U, and for a long time I worked my day job in, parallel with developing my coaching practice. Now I officially opened my coaching practice in 2009, and it's only been, let's see, it was 2019 when I went full time into my practice.
Very cool. And when did you first become aware of somatic awareness?
I became aware of somatic awareness through Peter Levine's work. The more I read and learned about it, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a thing? This comes as naturally to me as my next breath. I didn't know this was a thing.
Hmm.
And then as I thought more about it, I'm like, you know, I'm really kind of helping my clients with this without knowing what I was actually doing. And so I just made that my focus, continued to learn more and more about it and making that, my specialty that I bring to coaching. And, because somatic experiencing is helps a lot of people with, I'm going to call big T traumas,
Okay.
like war veterans and car accidents, those kinds of things. But I had this just kind of compelling knowing that there is a place for this in the business world, with small T traumas. I really believe there's a place for this. And I really believe it's just as important as emotional intelligence. The more I've learned, the more I've shared, the more I can confidently say somatic awareness is the cornerstone to emotional intelligence, because everything begins with the body. The brain is still trying to figure out what the body already knows. And I can point to a book that is called The Body Keeps the Score. And the author of that book illustrates that very well, that the body knows first.
And you're right. We talk about that gut feeling. You walk into a room or a meeting situation or whatever it happens to be, and something's off.
Yeah.
You can't put your finger on it, but
Mhm.
your body is aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's what really got me interested in talking more about this. Um, so how do you define that body intelligence? How the difference between, you said it's similar to the emotional intelligence, but it's different. It's just getting in tune with what your body is saying.
Yes. Being, going to my 3N model that I
Mhm.
founded, the notice, name, navigate. Noticing, that's the most important N of the three, because we can't change, respond to what we don't notice. We just react.
Right.
And that's when we're coming from a threat response. So noticing is noticing what's going on inside the body so that we can really be intentional, that we can think versus physically respond in the moment,
Right.
real-time resets.
But yeah, but the reset, exactly, because you're aware of something. It's like, how am I going to react to this, or why am I reacting the way I am? Is
Yes.
that go back to the potential trauma? Maybe I've been fired a couple times. Almost everybody has at one point or
Yep.
another. you walk into a room and it's like, ooh, I've got that same vibe.
Yeah.
Do I fight this? Do I run from this? Or, is that what's happening? You're just kind of picking up on the changes?
Yeah, those, you know, overwhelming emotional experiences that maybe have not been fully processed. We all have
Mm,
those because emotions have a beginning, they have a middle, they have an end. So if we know that, know that, for example, what the example that you shared, if you know that about yourself, you can be proactive too by, just being aware if you're going into a situation where that trigger might come up. And something as simple as noticing where the exits are, where the windows are, that it's all about helping the body feel safe. And then when we feel safe, regulated in our window of tolerance, we're less likely to be triggered. And just the confidence that comes with practicing this skill set, building the confidence of knowing that you have the skill set and the capability that if you do get triggered, that you can navigate that and not go into a full fight, flight, or freeze. And it takes a while to come out of that. I talk about it as being under the influence of the
okay.
amygdala, kind of like when we're under the influence of, say, alcohol. It takes a while to come out from underneath that.
Interesting.
Mhm.
And so how do you work with your 3N model when you're working with the leaders? How do you get them to notice and then name whatever that emotion is that they're feeling and navigate through it?
Yeah, so that's where the coaching comes in because the most consistent piece of feedback that I get from the leaders and individuals that I work with is that this isn't hard. The
Mm,
hardest part is remembering to use it. And that's where the coaching comes in. That consistent practice and reflecting together in the coaching engagement, what worked well, what didn't, and to tweak those things and go out and try it again.
nice. Do you
Yeah.
shadow the leaders? Do you work with them like a day, follow them around and talk about what's going on or what they're starting to feel? Or um, how does that work, your engagement with them?
Yeah, how that works is we through our coaching sessions that are, via Zoom.
Okay.
And then I have a call prep form that clients fill out in advance. And that way my wheels can be turning in advance, so can theirs. And so that we make the most of our time together and really get to the heart of the matter and
Nice.
really be in. And another important piece of this is for me to be an instrument of safety. And create, that safe space, the capacity. A lot of my clients, they just need to verbally process. And that's part of the healing process too, and processing those emotions, having the time, the space, and the safety to hear themselves think and
Mm,
feel.
interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a lot of things that we as coaches, tools that we use and share with our clients and things like that, that we get pushback every once in a while, right? Uh, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, the emotional intelligence, things that a lot of business leaders think are woo woo, for the lack of a better
Mhm.
term,
Yeah.
and they push back on those. Do you experience that when you go in? How accepting are they of somatic awareness?
Most of them are pretty good. And they come with curiosity. And we work with that. And for some people, going into the body, that's very uncomfortable. So another way we can work with that is I'll invite clients to pay attention to the language that they're using
Okay.
because that points to the body too. Like just for example, we might say we need to get something off of our chest or I've got cold feet about this,
Yeah.
easing into it that way. And
Hmm.
then teaching skills on how to navigate, because there's so many really simple strategies that we can use to keep ourselves within, regulated and within that window of tolerance.
Nice.
Yeah.
Or you say you only have like 6 seconds to identify what it is and start the process of working through it.
Yes, but
Wow.
it's a lifelong learning and practice, and the more you do it, the more that you can, and the more you have success with it. And there's going to be days where you don't.
Yeah.
There's going to be life circumstances that are going to put us on that edge of our window of tolerance.
Hmm.
And like being sick or just being really exhausted. So then that's where it's important to really be, you know, maintaining our capacity the best that we can to keep ourselves in as much as we can in that regulated state and giving ourselves compassion and curiosity when we slip into the fight, flight, freeze.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in those situations, you revert back to your training, right? So, yeah, get that in place. Do you, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have come up with that you work with when you talk to them about somatic awareness? Do they have any preconceived thoughts or things that they, I don't know, barriers that they put up?
Yeah, that's a good question. And most of this, I'd say the biggest barrier is the word itself, somatic. Not
Okay.
many people are aware of that. And when I'm in speaking engagements, I, talk about a gut feeling or these kinds of things. And so they've experienced it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, I know what that is. Most of the time, yeah, people are curious. I guess the biggest misconception that comes to mind as I was talking with someone once, and they're like, "Oh, can anybody do this?" Because I think, what they were picturing, because there are a lot of things out there in terms of like yoga practices
Hmm.
and things like that, which those do really help between the connection between mind and body. So they're really supportive in the noticing. Where what I do is different than that because what I teach can be done anytime, anywhere. Very subtle practices, such as, just toning the vagus nerve by going behind the ear and then
Mm.
down and just massaging the neck, just like this. Very subtle, very
Okay.
calming. Um, if you have like a glass of ice, you can just hold onto your glass. The coolness can help. And, asking oneself, is this unsafe or just uncomfortable? That can be calming. Seeing and sensing, scanning the
Mhm.
environment, letting the eyes land on something pleasing, things like that. And they really do act quickly. And, the big thing, so I help people really hone their noticing skills. Set a timer to check in. What are you noticing? What's
Mm.
going on? Notice whenever you wash your hands, during the day, simple things. When you're brushing your teeth, what's going on in there? You know.
Nice. Nice. I like that. Yeah. The subtle things you can do. And I think the noticing is probably the hardest part. But you're right. The situations we find ourselves in today, they're very stressful, but they're not necessarily life-threatening,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And but your subconscious and your body react very similar, right? So it's just understanding what's causing that uncomfort. Nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we want that quick reaction from the body when it is life-threatening, but most of the
Right.
time it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of either some transition or transformation that you've helped somebody achieve using the somatic awareness?
Oh, yes. A lot of times what I hear them, what people will share is that they feel lighter.
Okay.
They feel lighter, they're more clear, they have more joy in their lives, they get along better with themselves and
Yeah.
others. This can be, anything, at work, um, at home, in community. It's not out of the ordinary for a client to tell me this is working at home too. And I had,
Yeah.
a woman tell me that she had a colleague come to her and say, "There's something different about you. You're less emotional." And she's like, "Yeah, it's somatic awareness."
Yeah.
And my a leader that I work with, I refer to her as a lighthouse leader. And something she said that I thought was so, it just really speaks to the power of this work. She talked about with somatic awareness that helps her not to be distracted with her own emotions when she's
Okay.
with her team. She can be more present with her team, supportive, helpful if she's not distracted by her own emotions.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you're right. Everything is connected. If you're having issues at work, you're probably having issues at home and vice versa. I talk to my clients about that all the time. We're working on the finances for your company, but this is going to help you financially at home too, because you're probably making the same mistakes at
Yep.
home. So yeah, I can see how this would help. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, very
Um,
transferable.
any simple practices that we could do on our own? Can you give like something that we can do to start noticing and maybe that pause to really reflect on what exactly is happening and things like that.
Yes. So really noticing and looking for, I'll give you some common things that I hear people talk about that they notice when I work with them. And, it might be a quickening of their heartbeat, shallow breathing, stomach, doing a flip, tension in the shoulders. Some people feel heat in their cheeks.
Mhm.
I had one individual tell me that they even noticed that their nostrils flared. We've learned a lot about this from observing animals because we're not so
Okay.
different. And
Mm.
being able to notice those things and get curious about them builds our ability then to navigate them. Like,
Nice.
okay, oh, my heart it's pounding. All right, so it's some flavor of fear. And then, that might be a call to just do, massage the vagus nerve or take a deep breath. Exhale being longer than the inhale. This is part of the coaching experience too, is discovering what somatic tool works best
Right.
for so they clients end up with a toolbox of tools,
Nice.
and then they come to know which one to use in what kind of circumstance.
Nice. So in this situation, if I'm feeling it in my shoulders, here's some things I can do to relax, right?
Yes.
Let it go. Nice.
Yes, and calm that nerve.
Interesting.
A lot of people, they're looking for, how can I be more courageous? How can I be more clear? How can I be more confident? And it really is a byproduct of feeling
Mm.
safer inside. So I often am telling people that, the more you do this work, the less you have to worry about that. That's going to naturally come out. The more calm you are, the safer you feel.
Nice.
Takes the
And
pressure.
I'm with you. I believe that everything can be traced back to a fear of
Yeah,
something, right?
yeah.
We talked about um, what motivates people, and everybody said, "Oh, money is a motivator." No, the fear of not getting the money that you think you deserve, the fear that somebody else is going to get the money you think you deserve, that's what motivates us, right? It's not the money itself; it's the fear behind it. So, yeah,
Mhm.
interesting. How does cultivating somatic awareness improve the leader's ability to communicate and build trust with their teams?
Yeah, that gets into co-regulation. So the safer that the leader feels inside, the safer their team is
Okay.
going to feel. Because emotions are as contagious as the common cold.
Nice.
And I'm reminded of a client that I worked with today. This is interesting, where she was really concerned about helping her boss feel comfortable.
Mm,
And so we talked about how, to redirect the focus to her own comfort, and that the more she feels comfortable, the client, the more her boss is going to naturally feel comfortable.
nice.
Yeah. And you really don't have any control over how the person, whether they feel comfortable or not, but you can be an instrument of safety. And that comes from your sense of safety, owning that and sense of comfort.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I use the analogy of the flight attendants on a plane. If you're hitting turbulence,
Mhm.
look over at the flight attendants. If they're going about their business, then there's nothing to worry about, right? If they're behind their little curtain making the sign of the cross, strapping in, now you worry, right? But
Yes.
employees are like that too. They see their manager, their boss. Um, if the boss is tense and anxious and stressed, they're going to feel anxious and stressed because obviously the boss knows something I don't.
Mhm.
Maybe I should be worried too. So,
Yeah, it's important to be
mm,
delivering cues of safety versus cues of threat. Something as simple as a smile can be a cue of safety. Stopping to, speak with a direct report, really speak with them, not just in passing, but
right.
to connect with them,
Yeah.
really to care. This work
Yeah.
expands our capacity to care.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife pointed out to me one time. Um, she's a management consultant also. You go to a restaurant, you order your food, the food is brought over your table. And a couple minutes later, the manager, you assume it's a manager, comes walking over to the table and says, "How is everything going here?" Right? Just checking on your experience. Look at their feet. If
Ah,
if the manager's feet are facing the table, they're stopped, they're engaged, they want to know how is your meal, how is everything going here. If their feet are turned facing up the aisle, they're just doing a drive by. This is a checkbox. I'm supposed to stop by and ask how things are. So they're doing that. How's everything here? How's everything here? How's everything here? And off they go. Look at their feet. And I think for management, it's the same thing. If
it
you're
is.
walking through, talking to your team, stop.
Yes.
Stop what you're doing, face them, engage them completely. Don't just walk by and go, "Hey guys, hey, how you doing? How you doing?" Stop,
Mhm.
take the time.
Absolutely, because that is going to lead to greater performance
Mm,
and productivity rather than rushing through. That's actually very counterproductive. So people are often surprised when they realize that when they slow down, they can be just as productive, if not more. Yeah, love that. Look at their feet.
Look at the feet. So if the leader wants to begin learning more about this,
Hmm.
what's the very first step you would recommend? Buying your book,
Yeah.
absolutely buy the book, contact you, but is there anything they can start doing now just to see, is this something that I can actually be aware of myself?
Yeah. Just start practicing that first and notice. That's something that they can do right now. They can set a timer to, notice, physically check in. What are you and I'll give you an example of how I do this with groups. I'll have people, bring to mind a challenging situation and then notice what happens inside, because those memory, they trigger it. And it doesn't that because the amygdala does not have a sense of time. That situation, it could have been 5 years ago, it could have been 5 days ago, it could have been 5 minutes ago. Doesn't matter. But the body will still respond. And just noticing where that is, and then not staying there too long so that you don't get, overwhelmed by emotion. noticing it, and then navigating with, take a deep breath, making sure that your exhale is longer than your inhale would be an easy one to start with.
Nice.
Mm.
Very cool. I love this stuff. This is fascinating to me. The mind body connection, and like you said, what something that happened long ago sticks with us. Something somebody said when we were a child sticks with us.
It absolutely
Eh,
does. And
Yeah.
example, my mother-in-law, she's she'll be 93 soon. She had a traumatic school experience. When
Mm,
she talks about that, you can hear it in her voice. You can hear that it's still very fresh from that many years ago.
yeah.
That's the power of, because a lot of times we stuff our emotions and
Mhm.
then they don't get processed. And
Yeah.
they're not going to until we deal with them, till we learn what we're meant to learn from them.
Yeah.
Mm.
And like I said, the mind doesn't know the time, the date.
Yeah.
It's feeling it right now.
Yep.
It's right
Yep.
there.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yes. Pretty incredible stuff.
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about courage.
Sure.
Where did you find the courage to do this? A lot of people, first of all, to write a book, that's a courageous thing. You're a speaker, keynote speaker, a lot of places. That shows a lot of courage. Where did that come from? Have you always been courageous? Is there somebody in your family that you said, "Oh, I want to be courageous like them"?
I would say my mother was a strong influence because she would put herself out there. She would try new things. So she was my first influencer in that respect. And then as an adult, getting involved in Toastmasters has
Okay.
been huge for helping me find my voice and use
Nice.
my voice. But I've always relied on trusting my gut, which now I know is somatic awareness. It's never led me
Nice.
wrong. I've only gotten in trouble when I didn't listen to it.
That seems to be the case. I don't listen as often as I probably should
Mhm.
because something comes up and it's like, oh, I can do this. It's like, boy, I wish I had listened because I probably wouldn't have done that. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And to go out on my own, I was just when I know. And I bet it was, a year or two. I was, waiting for a sign, waiting for a sign, having to be very patient. And then one day there was a sign and I knew it and I acted on it and I haven't looked back. But it's part of
yeah,
trusting the process and staying active in it. And that's
right.
really hard. It's really hard. Faith and connection are my top two values. And there's been a number of times where I've had to pray to help me with my belief as well as my unbelief to
Yeah,
keep going.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. And then what about your book?
My book, I wanted to get this information out into the world, into the hands of our leaders and our individuals. It's applicable just everywhere, really.
Sure.
And I feel
Yeah.
like that our leaders are in a particular position to be very influential. And I set myself a goal. It was kind of a process, I would say. And I'm going to be honest, my part of it was I have a goal to be on Brene Brown's podcast.
Nice,
I'm like, well, the only way I'm likely to get her attention is to write a book. So
nice.
I said, and within the first 5 years, I want to be on her podcast. So then what I did is I started at the first of the year and I realized that the book, The Thin Book of Trust by Charles Feltman. It's a great
Mm,
book, and it is truly very thin. And that was inspiring to me because I'm like, well, because I'm very much the type, to cut to the chase, get to the heart of the matter. And writing something long and, that didn't appeal to me. But I'm like, I can still make a difference, writing something small. And so I paced it out, a chapter each month. And then what's been nice is to find out from people that they really appreciate that it is a thinner book, because I went into that with a mindset too that a lot of people don't have the capacity to sit down and read something. So this is a book that they can get really the high points from and come back to frequently. And that's what I'm hearing from people. And my Q1 goal was to have the book be made into an audio book, because people have been
Okay.
asking for that. And I'm like, ooh,
Sure.
that's a way to even make it more accessible to people. So
Yes.
that has been accomplished. Now, my next big Q2 goal is notice, name, navigate, getting that into a self-study kind of primer
Nice.
course that people can access off of my website,
Very cool.
little by
And
little.
I can almost see another book
Mhm.
directed at students,
Oh,
because I
sure.
don't think we do enough to help our students understand what's going on, right? Why am I feeling this way? What can I do differently, or how can I approach this differently? I think that would
Mhm.
help them out a lot too.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And I can give you a prime example with my own daughter, because forever she graduated in 2020 from high school.
Okay.
She wanted to be a nurse since she was wee tall. And then she started college classes after, the pandemic. And of course, that was altogether different. And
Yeah.
it just really rocked her world when she realized, wait a minute, I don't want to do this. And that had been her anchor. She didn't know what to do. So I knew that's the thing, is we can't be curious when we're anxious. So I encouraged her to just focus on completing her AA degree for now, because she had started that in high school. That gave her the capacity to be curious, and then to remember her love for numbers. And so that's the path that she's gone down. But when we're forced, when we're, not feeling safe, we don't have access to those that thinking that we need to really problem solve in effective ways.
Yeah, that, like I said, we everybody knows the gut feeling, right? I feel in my chest, I feel in my shoulders, I feel this. To then have the tools to say, okay, I know now what this is and why I'm feeling this way, and here's how I can, resolve this issue, or how I can prepare myself to go through it. I think
And
that's
another really
awesome.
important thing and this is my second book is going to be about this for leaders.
Okay.
They can play a really, really important part in validating people on their team. And what
Mhm.
that means, because people need to feel seen, heard, and believed. So
Yes.
if leaders have the skills to catch themselves, so notice when they feel that impulse to jump into fix,
Yep.
to not go there, to listen to validate before listening to fix, because
Nice.
then the leader and the team member, they grow on the spectrum to curiosity together, then they can problem solve together if that is what the teammate wants. A lot of times they'll be able to solve their own problem just
Hmm.
by having, feeling seen, heard, and believed, which in the end, it empowers the employee
Yeah.
and it frees the leader up to have the capacity to really lead, to have the capacity for that big picture thinking and visioning,
Mm.
and to be there when people truly need them.
Nice. Yeah, that took me years to learn. As a husband,
Yeah,
my wife would complain about something. I wanted to fix it. How can I
yes.
fix this? She goes, just stop and listen to me. Just listen. You don't have
Hmm.
to fix it. I'm dealing with it. I just want to vent.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to really understand that that's as helpful as trying to fix,
Oh, it
the
is.
situation. So yeah.
Yeah, we've had that in our marriage too. And my husband, he's very good now about, do you want me to listen to validate or do you want me to listen to fix? And then I realized that, you know what, in a way, I'm kind of expecting him to read my mind. I need to take ownership and tell him, if he doesn't ask, I need you to listen to validate, or I need you to help me fix it.
Nice. I will definitely start doing that, asking first. How do, what capacity do you want me to just listen? Do you want me to help? Yeah,
Yep. And the hardest part is remembering to do it.
exactly. Exactly. Um, Leadership. What do you look for in a leader?
Hmm. A lighthouse leader. Characteristics of a lighthouse leader are someone that is who cares, is a big picture thinker, curious, empathetic, has a vision. They they really, they have high expectations and they help people reach those high expectations. That they create that psychological safety, that environment for people to really be at their best and contribute at their best. Yeah.
That's a good description. Have you worked with somebody like that?
Yes, I
Somebody who
have.
fits that description? Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I wrote about her too in the Choice, the professional magazine for coaching. And it was the title of it, Lighthouse Leader. And she definitely is. She has a reputation of being a leader that cares and can also hold people accountable
Hmm.
to the end goal, but be there for them. It reminds me a lot of, I see a lot of parallels between parenting and
Mhm.
leadership. So something that always stuck with me when I first became a parent was somebody told me it's your job to work yourself out of a job. And so I take that to heart as a parent, also as a leader, trusting there's going to be enough to go around that I can invest in someone else and
Exactly.
hold on lightly versus tightly. Don't micromanage. Don't do that, destroys trust. And
Mhm.
it does, people don't feel safe in that. And it just creates a very uh quick moving downward spiral.
Leaders have to show different types of courage or step into different types of courage. We talked a little bit about emotional courage, intellectual courage, the ability to say I don't know
Yeah.
and be safe and comfortable in I don't know. Empathetic courage, leaving room for the emotions. Not putting your emotions first, but taking a back seat so you can help your employees get through things. Do you think there's a type of courage that leaders need to um, demonstrate or grow into?
And if I had to pick one from what I just heard you say, it would be humility,
Mm,
being real, being okay with saying, hey, I don't know. Because what happens when we do that, we give other people permission to be real too. People feel safer. We're utilizing our resources. The more resource we feel, the safer we feel. Can't tell you how many people I've worked with where they're just really stuck in their head trying to figure something out and asking them if there's someone they can turn to to ask. Well, yeah. And when they agree to do it, it brings attention down because they're not alone. It's a resource. They can feel safer in that. But humility, I think, is holds a lot of opportunity for us as leaders and people.
that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, it makes your employees then feel safe to come up and say, "Hey, I'm having trouble with this. I'm struggling with this." I know a lot of entrepreneurs feel that they need to be the smartest person in the room, and you really
Mm.
don't. If you
No,
don't
you
know,
surround
admit that you
yourself with
don't,
smart people.
because yeah, admit that you don't. Your employees will then admit to you when they don't know. or
Yes.
when they're struggling with something. So
Yeah, and you'll hear things that you need to know, maybe that you don't
Mhm.
want to know or hear,
Right.
but they're, yeah, that you need to hear. That's part of being
Absolutely.
accessible and building trust, all of that stuff.
Nice.
Mhm.
And so, do you have employees you work with? Are you solo?
I'm solo, but I have people that I call upon to with expertise to, I guess you'd call that contractors to help me out with certain things.
Nice.
Mhm.
So in your past life as a telecommunications analyst and consultant, and in what you're doing now, if I was to bump into any of your colleagues and ask them what type of leader you are, what would they
Mm.
tell me? What kind of leader are you?
Well, I'll tell you some words that I hear people use frequently in that regard. That I make them think,
Nice.
that I'm always putting myself out there, which I think fits with humility. I had some very early training in that. And, as a child, and it was torture to go through. But now I'm beginning to see, those skills honed in me early on, I am able to help others with now. So it gives some meaning to that for me. Um, Caring, conscientious, I think those are some words that non-intimidating. I had somebody say that to me recently, but I'm like, actually that's a very important uh, piece because that helps create the safety and the capacity for people to bring their real selves into the coaching engagement, the relationship, whatever it is, and really connect. I'm a connector. Yeah, I love to connect with people
Nice.
and connect people with other people.
You sound like a lighthouse leader.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
Cool. Oh, very cool. Well, Jennifer, this has been awesome, and I am so anxious to read your book and dive deeper into this. And I know the listeners are probably going to want more information on this. If they want to learn more, how can they best do that? What's your website?
My website is www.somaticallyaware.com. Somaticallyaware.com.
Excellent. And your book, Somatic Awareness, Leading with Body Intelligence. Where can they get that? Is that available Amazon,
Yes, it's
everywhere?
on
Okay,
Amazon and it's also on my website, which is linked to to Amazon.
nice. They
Mhm.
can go and get that. Excellent. Are you active on LinkedIn?
I am. Yeah, so they can
Excellent.
just look under Jennifer Zock.
Nice. And then do you have any speaking engagements coming up? Do you have any programs you're running right now that you'd like to let people know about?
Oh, yeah, locally I do. I'm excited to speak with our professional women's network. That's coming up. I'm also going to be speaking with the another SHRM chapter.
Nice.
And yeah, and in June, I'm going to be in my all-time favorite magazine again, the TD magazine. That's the magazine that the Association for Talent Development puts out. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Mm.
Well, Jennifer, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for taking time
Oh,
out to speak with us.
yes, thank you,
Yeah,
Harlan. Yeah, this has been a joy.
it's been great. All right, listeners, hope you guys were taking a lot of notes, a lot of good information here. Um, take the time to notice, to name, and navigate, right? What's going on? You feel something. There's something in your past, in your subconscious that is causing that. Try to understand what that is. Take some time out and stuff. Get the book. Um, Contact Jen if you need help with that. Jennifer, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to shorten it. if you have questions about that, make sure you reach out and get some information and stuff, and check out our website. And definitely share this with your family, friends, colleagues, and stick around because there's always more coming. That's it for me, Coach Harlan, saying so long for now.